back in March. I believe it was March 29th. I didn't really have any plans to start a pressure washing business. I knew I wanted to do something to try to make up for the lack of income that my family was facing. We were due to have our son in April, and retired my wife back in October of the previous year to try to keep her home and keep her safe, with COVID and everything going on. I knew I wanted to do something to try to cope for that loss of income, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And it just kind of happened by chance that we were outside talking and we're looking at the house, and my wife had mentioned that she wanted to get the house pressure washed. We started going back and forth on how much we thought it might cost, and $200, $400, $500. I don't know. We didn't know. We didn't have a clue. We just bought a house the year before, so we'd never been homeowners. So it's not something we'd ever had to consider. The expense of getting the house cleaned routinely. So just kind of thinking about how it was going to be something we were going to have to do year after year. I just told my wife, and looked at her, same most of you guys probably thought too, is we could pay somebody to come do it, but it'd be a lot more expensive than it would be if I just bought my own pressure washer and did it myself. So and that's what I did. I went to Walmart, and I actually didn't have the money to buy a pressure washer at the time. I had these little gift cards that I'd gotten from work for just kind of like their employee appreciation type thing. I had about $200 in digital gift cards that I was going to be able to use to do it. So I got to Walmart, picked up this little 2.5 GPM pressure washer. It's 3,200 PSI, something like that, I forget. And it was going to be about $260, I think. So, yeah, I had $200 worth of those gift cards. I went up there to the register, tried to use them, and the employees looked at me like I was crazy, like it's some sort of scam. I was trying to pull a fast one on them, using these virtual gift cards to pay for my pressure washer, which, I had money in my account, but I really didn't have money to just kind of blow on getting a pressure washer. So, after trying to use the gift cards and realizing that they weren't going to let me use them, I decided that it was too good of a deal on the pressure washer, because it was a DeWalt, it was a Stanley with a Kohler engine on it. It was fairly decent, but it was too good of a deal on it because it was the only one they had, and it was on clearance. So I figured $250, $260, I think, with the little bottle of degreaser I grabbed with it. Wasn't a bad deal, so I didn't want to lose out on it because it was the only one somebody had tucked back behind the rest of them. So I just went ahead and used my debit card, bought the pressure washer, and ended up having to turn around and use those virtual gift cards to order groceries online and go pick them up at the store to make up for the money that I wasted essentially on buying the pressure washer. So went through that whole fiasco of doing that. Anyways, got the pressure washer home, got it out of the box, was excited to use it because I'm 30 years old and never used a pressure washer before in my life. I never used one, never put any kind of chemical or cleaner on the side of the house, and ended up going over and actually I didn't go over. My neighbor heard me over there using it, came over and started talking to me, and he was giving me some pointers and stuff. And needless to say, it didn't go well. I got it out. I was trying to clean the side of my house. Didn't really use any cleaner. I had the little generic stuff that I got from Walmart off the shelf. Tried using it. It nothing. Like it didn't work at all. I ended up pressure washing about 6 feet, about as high as I could reach, down with just straight water. It took forever. I think I worked on my house for like 4 hours that day. I only have a 1,600 square foot house. It's vinyl siding. It's not like it was something huge and difficult. 1,600 square feet. Just, I didn't know what I was doing. It took me 4 hours and I only cleaned 2/3 of the house. And the whole time I was just sitting there thinking, this sucks. This just sucks. I should have just paid somebody to come do this. This would have been so much easier to just pay somebody to come do it. So it's just funny to me that for that to be my first experience, that I was like, okay, well, you know what, maybe I can make some money from it. It's just, I don't know, it blows my mind. I ended up stumbling across some videos on YouTube, saw a guy went and cleaned a house for $200, and all he took was a little pump sprayer, some bleach in it, some Dawn, and didn't even have a pressure washer. Like, he just used the woman's garden hose and knocked it out in like 30 minutes. Like a 2-story house bigger than mine, knocked it out in 30 minutes. I was like, there's no way that works. So I ended up doing the same thing, just followed the advice, went, got some bleach and some Dawn, same way everybody starts. Went, filled up that little pump sprayer, put it on the side of my house, cleaned both of my house, the remaining 2 sides of my house in like 15 minutes. I was thrilled and pissed all at the same time, because I wasted 4 hours trying to clean my house with just pressure, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But it's just so funny to think that that little moment, you know, that day of just kind of going through that I would turn around and I would decide that, you know, hey, maybe I could turn this into a business. So of course I started doing all my homework, started doing YouTube videos and researching stuff online, and talking to my neighbor because he had a little bit of insight. Cleaned 1 or 2 of my friends' houses, talked to them about it, because they normally clean their own houses, but they let me come over there and clean theirs, and paid me a little bit of money to do it, just to kind of give me like some experience. And then I just started growing. Like, I started really learning as much as I could. Just kind of became like obsessed with it, and trying to learn everything that I could about it, and how to, you know, all the different techniques, all the different processes, how to downstream, how to use a 12-volt system, just different things like that. You know, using a surface cleaner, best ways to clean concrete, stucco, brick, you know, all the different surfaces, the different types of cleaners that they have. Learned a lot about soft washing. So now I primarily run a soft wash business. If I do any pressure cleaning, it's pretty much for concrete, driveways, sidewalks, things like that. But it was pretty interesting. And when I decided that I wanted to do it, though, the thing was I decided from the start that I wanted it to be a business. I wanted to treat it like a business. I didn't want to treat it like it was just, you know, something for, you know, a little extra income, something, you know, for beer money or whatever, you know, most guys tend to do with it. It wasn't going to be fun money. You know, I had a real need. You know, I needed to kind of, and still do, I need to make up that loss of income for my wife being home. So, you know, fast forward, started that in March. Here it is, second week of December of 2020. And, you know, it's kind of neat. You know, when I went, you know, I started the business. I got the license. I got the LLC registered with the state, everything. And then when I got the insurance, when you go to get your insurance, they ask you, you know, okay, kind of make a prediction of what you think you'll make for the year. It's kind of hard to do. You're starting up a new business. I mean, you don't really know how to price. You don't know how to find customers. You know nothing about marketing. You're printing up stuff off of your computer, off of your printer, and just going around knocking on doors and making these just god-awful ugly signs and just trying your hardest to do what you can but still be professional, and you're like, you haven't developed a brand yet, there's a lot of things that go into it that, you kind of learn as you go. Well, that was kind of the beauty of it, is that I can learn as I go. But it was just interesting, though, that she asked, how much do you think you would make for this first year? And I told her, I just spitballed. I was like, okay, 20,000. Figured that was a fair number to start. Because again, I never pressure washed anything until this year. So it's kind of neat. Here it is, December, and I've made 20,000. I'm right at like $21,000 on the books. And obviously that's not all profit. That's gross 20,000. So take home's probably next to nothing. I spend a lot of money investing back into the business and upgrading the equipment and things like that, focusing on the softwares and the brand and the website. So really it's probably about a break-even year, but for the first year in business, that's actually felt like that was pretty good. Here it is, the end of the year. Got all these things in place. The website's set up. I've got all these things working for me. The Google My Business page is doing great. It's starting to generate a lot of leads for me. It drives more and more people to the website. I get more website traffic, get more phone calls and stuff because of the work that I've done on the business page and the things that I've done with the SEO as far as the keywords and stuff on my website as well. So here it is, December of 2020, and I've cleared 21,000. But the thing that's most interesting to me, that I'm most excited about, is that I'm at 20,000 for the year, which really is not a lot, but last month, so the month of November and the month of October is where I'm excited about it, because both those months, even though I made 20,000 for the year, over the last 9 months, the last 2 months, I brought in 10,000. So half of the money that I made for the year, I made it in the last 2 months. So, and a lot of that I attribute to just the ramp up period. So, you've got all that, the business is growing, so it's going through this whole ramp up phase, and it'll just continue to keep growing. But it's growing and growing and growing, and because I did all of that work up front, it's at the point now where it's starting to work for me instead of me having to work to make it work all the time, because I still do this part-time weekend warrior type deal, but I don't present it that way. I put a lot of time and effort, I put a lot of money into making sure that I have systems, I have softwares and things like that present the business as a professional business, as somebody that I don't give that presence of somebody who's just doing it on the weekend, or you're Chuck in a truck type guy that's just doing it again for beer money and stuff like that. I've done a really good job as far as branding the business and having an idea, a vision of what I want the business and the company to be one day. So for it to be at the point already where it's starting to generate income for me and it's starting to generate its leads, and really kind of been hands off. I haven't done a whole lot in marketing and things like that the last couple of months, and I will say that attributing to the sales over the last 2 months, how I did almost 6,000 in October and a little over 5 in November, so really it's probably closer to 11,000 the last 2 months, but we were coming into our busy season. So again, something else I didn't know, because I've never really been a homeowner or been a business owner, so I didn't realize that I'm still learning those peak seasons for pressure washing and stuff like that. For me, it seems kind of odd that the colder months would be when our season actually picks up for pressure washing, But then when you stop and you think about it, it actually makes sense, because you're coming into the fourth quarter of the year. It's the busy season because it's when families come around. You know, everybody wants to get their houses washed before family comes to town. You know, like all the holidays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. You know, everybody wants to make sure that their houses look nice before family comes. So, and then you get a lot of houses that are being sold too. A lot of people. It's a good time for the real estate market too. So you tend to get a lot of those that you're picking up. But even with that being said, even though it's the busy season, if you're not able to be found, you're still not gonna. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter how good you are, anything like that. If you're in the busy season and nobody knows your name or has a way to contact you, then you're just not gonna make sales. It's pretty simple. So yeah, I was just thinking about it today, and that's why I just decided to make a video. I just thought it was kind of neat. You know, here it is. This is the first year, and I cleared a goal that I just randomly threw out earlier in the year. No expectations or idea of. I wouldn't even say it's an educated guess. It was really, I just kind of spitballed a number out there, and it kind of happened. So it gets me excited for next year to actually set goals. And you know, and I've already set my goal for next year, and my goal for next year is actually going to be $100,000. It's big. It's a big jump. But the things that I've learned from this year, the things I've learned about marketing, about online presence, about SEO, about studying your analytics and how you need to stay on top of that stuff, so you can actually track. You see what your impressions are, so you see what keywords people are using when they search your business. So you can go back and you can partner up with the company that's doing your website, or if you're doing your own website, you make sure that you add those keywords in there. Just little things like that. And then things that are focused on customer retention. So, you know, your software, your CRM, whatever you're using to actually manage that information for your customers, use that to its fullest extent. Don't just put their information in there and log it that way. I mean, a lot of those CRMs will actually help you automate things. So that's been a big thing that helped me this year, was that I automated a bunch of that stuff. I automated all of my follow-ups. I automated my thank you emails that I send on afterwards. Automated getting Google reviews. Use the software that you have. There's not really a need to go out and get all these fancy companies and this and that to do stuff for you. A lot of times the stuff that you're already paying for can be extremely versatile. So that's one of the biggest things that I focused on, and that's why I'm excited about next year, because I basically have a client base. You know, I have everybody that I use, or everybody that used my service this year. I'm gonna get back in contact with them next year and try to follow up. Make sure that I stay on top of that, and that way, you know, I'm not one of these guys that just goes out and pressure washes and that's it. And then next year comes around and that customer's sitting there going, "Hey, we got to get somebody to wash the house." I don't remember the guy that came last year. He was really, really good, but forgettable. You don't want to be forgettable. If you're not keeping in touch with your customers, they'll move on to the next one. And it's not because they're not loyal to you. It's just because you did nothing to stay on their mind. You know, you didn't have anything in place that would remind them that, you know, hey, we're here to help care for your house. I mean, we want to make sure that we're here year after year after year. One of the biggest complaints that I hear from my customers is that whenever they went to call their guy from the previous year, they couldn't find him. And that's how they got a hold of me. It wasn't that the guy didn't do good, it's they couldn't remember the name of the company, so they probably lacked brand recognition. They never saw anything about them again, so the company probably wasn't marketing, they weren't advertising, and they definitely weren't keeping in touch with their customers. So, you know, the second year comes around, or that second cleaning comes around, you know, whenever they decide to do it, they do it once a year, twice a year. I've got a customer just getting it done 4 times a year. Lives right down the road from me. Whenever that next appointment, quote unquote, would happen, there's nothing to keep them coming back to you. So I made a big point to focus on those things. So that's why I'm excited about next year, to see how next year goes, because I know I'll continue to get new customers, but because of the things that I've done to manage and maintain contact with my previous customers, I can look at next year's goal and say, okay, I basically have $20,000 on the books for next year. And that's how I choose to look at it, because I focused a lot on the relationship that I built with those customers. So ideally, theoretically, it was nice to look at your client base and say, okay, these people will be inclined to use me again this following year. So I'll just say, best case scenario, I've got $20,000 already. So how do I get another 20? Or how do I get another 50 or 60 or 80? How do I close that gap for what my goal is for next year? So that's just kind of where I'm at. I know I was trying to do some videos for you guys, and it's crazy. You get busy, you got all these things that you want to do, and you forget. But I know this video is long, but it's the story of the start of my business, and that's kind of what I want this channel to do. Is I want to tell the story of how I start my business, kind of the ups and downs, the things that I'm thinking about doing and want to do, and just if you guys can relate to it, then follow me. If not, then maybe this isn't for you. So, but yeah, if you guys feel like you got any questions or anything like that, and you want to call me, I'll post my number for you guys, and you can always comment on the video. So, but that's my story, and I can't wait to see how this journey continues, because that's the biggest thing about becoming an entrepreneur, is that it's not about the destination. You want to have clear goals, but it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So who you become on that journey, and the things that you learn, and the things that you'll create, that's kind of what's so inspiring about it. So I'll check you guys out later.